Welcome everyone to the Campus Pride Spotlight Series. My name is Ayla Azim, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm an intern with Campus Pride. For those who don't know, Campus Pride is a leading national nonprofit that empowers student groups and student leaders working to create equitable LGBTQ+ college and university environments. You can learn more at campuspride.org. Today I'll be interviewing the University of Colorado Boulder for the Campus Pride Spotlight Series. This series is all about what today's campuses offer today's LGBTQ+ students, our diverse genders and sexuality spectrum. We will highlight colleges and universities that are providing LGBTQ+ inclusivity on their campuses and learn more about their programs and services. I want to introduce to you the representatives from the University of Colorado at Boulder now.
Hi, I'm Morgan Seamont. I'm the director of the Pride Center at CU Boulder, and I'm so happy to be part of this interview.
And I'm Alex Dutro-Maeda. I'm the assistant director for the Pride office, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm also very happy to be here.
Thank you both so much for introductions. It's wonderful to have you here today. You have a 5 out of 5 star rating on the Campus Pride Index at campusprideindex.org, and you've been ranked among the best of the best in terms of LGBTQ+ friendly college environments, so congratulations. To start out, tell us what are some things that are on your campus for LGBTQ+ life?
We've developed quite a few things. Number one, of course, we did a lot of policy work to make sure that our LGBTQ students are accepted and supported all across campus, and that we have resources for them. So for example, we have gender neutral restrooms in the rec center. So both near the pool, so separate ones near there, and then in the main locker rooms as well. We've worked on creating new buildings with gender inclusive restrooms, and we also run a number of programs such as our Pride Picnic every fall, which is just to welcome in our returning LGBTQ students, as well as staff and faculty and our incoming students. And it's a great time to just meet and greet each other. And I'm sure we'll get into more programs as we go through the interview.
Thank you so much for that. That was an amazing answer. So what example can you share that signifies the importance of having a space on campus for an LGBTQ+ student?
Alex, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we all know that LGBTQ+ students need a space on campus. Just the environment of campus is often so cisnormative, so heterosexist, that it is important for folks to be able to have an oasis where they can go and know that they can be themselves, and also where they can learn about themselves and not feel pressured to fit in with the majority. And it's also important for community building, so that we're looking for students to have a place where they can find each other, make connections, and really build up those support networks and communities.
Really good answer. I really like the idea of having just like a space for LGBTQ+ students. So may you please tell us more about your campus's LGBTQ+ inclusive policies, and how do students on campus feel about such policies?
One of the big things that we've worked on in the last few years is to ensure that our trans students in particular can be housed with supportive roommates and anywhere on campus. So while we have a spectrum floor in one of our res halls, which is dedicated to LGBTQ students, we've also ensured that both our lesbian, gay, and bi students, as well as our trans students, can be part of that program but housed in other res halls. So they don't have to choose their identity over their educational interests, because we have a number of residential academic programs that students participate in, which are located in different halls. So that's one of them. We've worked very closely with our health center, and we have a trans care team made up of both medical and mental health professionals, as well as myself. And we aim to help those students who are interested in transition or interested in sexual health, to ensure that they have doctors and nurses who are culturally competent with our LGBTQ students. I mentioned earlier the rec center has programs. We've also worked with athletic centers and club sports to make sure that they have policies in place, especially for our trans students. And then we are running a program that will help increase visibility across campus. So it's not just our office that serves LGBTQ students. Am I missing anything, Alex? I'm sure I'm missing stuff.
I think that's good. I think some of these other questions are going to touch
Yeah.
on other things too.
Really nice. So in either of your personal opinions, why does your campus feel the need to provide spaces and resources for LGBTQ+ students?
Well, one of the last campus surveys that we did showed that both our undergraduate and graduate LGBTQ students are withdrawing rather than continuing through to completion for their degrees. So we know from that data and other data, national data on LGBTQ students, that they are a particular population that suffers from marginalization, from being minoritized, and needs some extra support to ensure their success. So that's one of the main reasons that we have a Pride office that focuses specifically on LGBTQ students. We also serve staff and faculty to ensure that their needs are being met. Because without that, I think that there's no way to address specific challenges that LGBT people are facing on our campus. We work very closely with the office that deals with discrimination and harassment to help them with certain questions on how do we make the campus more inclusive, how to respond to certain complaints that deal with LGBTQ identities. We work with the police department on how to better interact with LGBTQ students to ensure that they feel respected. And we work with the Res Life programs to ensure that we're creating actual physical spaces where students are living that feel comfortable to them, where they don't feel like they have to hide their identity if they choose to be out. We've worked with financial aid to ensure students who get cut off from parental support can find other avenues to get financial support for campus. So it's really critical to have an office that can address these various challenges that our LGBTQ students face.
Really nice answer. How do LGBTQ+students get involved on your campus, and do you have active out LGBTQ+student leaders across campus?
We do. We have all sorts of student leaders. We have a group that's called Out in STEM. So it's mainly our students involved with science, technology, engineering, and math, but that also includes some other sciences too. And they're one of our most active student groups. They actually won the Best Student Group of the Year 2 years ago. They've been coming up with new and different events as well. They learned about Dr. Evelyn Hooker, who went to CU Boulder and was one of the people really responsible for getting homosexuality out of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders back in 1980. So they developed an award for allyship within the STEM fields, and now that's a regular event for them. We have, of course, a Gender and Sexuality Alliance, a GSA. That's one of our biggest groups as well, and they hold a couple of really big events. Our annual drag show, which sees anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 people attend across the area. They also do Queer Formal. And then we have some smaller groups that are really meant to support more specific subpopulations within the LGBTQ community, such as Bring Your Own Gender, BYOG, for our trans non-binary students and those who are questioning their gender identity. We have Biphoria, which is for those who identify as bisexual. And then we have some offshoot groups, depending on how excited students are about running a group, such as Polycule, which was all about polyamory. And we have some students who are very interested in creating groups that are both spiritual and focused on LGBTQ identities. So we try to have a little something for every subgroup within our population to ensure that they feel included and supported.
That is so cool. And that's so cool that an alum took out, being LGBTQ+ out of, mental health issue. That's really cool. So if an LGBTQ+ student has an issue of harassment inside or outside the classroom, how will it get remedied or handled?
Yeah. Since we do, our office, both Alex and I do a lot of one-on-one consults we try to build that relationship where students can come to us with any challenges that they're facing. But we also have an office that deals with discrimination and harassment called the Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance. And they have an anonymous reporting button that anybody can click on and report issues. Then that office follows up with them to see if they want to be involved in the process from there, or if they just want to report it, so the university knows about it and can maybe address some problem areas if that particular unit is coming up again and again. Because we have such personal, great relationships with students, they will often come into us, especially when they're unsure if they should report something, and just talk about, I'm not sure, this happened, it makes me feel uncomfortable, I don't know what I can do about it. And so oftentimes Alex or I will reach out to that harassment and discrimination office and tell them about it, and see what the process is. Is this a case that would find an advantage in the student participating in, describing what happened and what the outcome might be? What are some solutions? And sometimes that's enough, and sometimes it's enough to talk to us, and sometimes we assist the student to go and talk to OIAC, whether that means, telling them where that office is at, or actually going with them, because it can be intimidating to talk about these things. And then we also have an office of victim assistance, which helps people who are going through some sort of discrimination or some sort of trauma that they've experienced. And we have trans and trans competent counselors in that office, the same with our regular counseling center. So if we need to hand off a student, we always have somebody who is part of the community or has shown themselves to be a strong ally of the community to pass them off to.
Really good answer. So how is your campus supporting LGBTQ+ students across their diverse intersections of identity?
Alex, do you want to take that?
Sure. So our Pride office is part of a larger center that's called the Center for Inclusion and Social Change. And within that office, we have our area, and then we have folks who are working on like intercultural engagement, identity development, supporting first-gen students, and just doing kind of general identity education. So because we're in that space, we're able to do a lot of collaborative programming with the other offices, so that we can highlight certain populations, create more specific spaces for folks, and be able to provide education that is actually relevant to the lives of the students that we're educating.
It's been a really great move for us to be part of the Center for Inclusion, because it's given us a much bigger staff. Whereas, Alex and I, we've always been a staff of 2 for the LGBTQ office. Now we are a staff of, I think, 9. And so it gives us opportunities to work with those who are working very closely with students of color or our Native American population, those who identify as women. So it's been great to collaborate more closely on those events within the same office. It's not like we didn't collaborate before, but now that we can hold events together in our space, it's been really a great advantage to take into our repertoire.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Like how it combines, and that really helps reach diverse populations.
Yeah, it helps us to realize that a lot of the same things that our students of color are facing, our LGBTQ students are facing. So we can come together and take some more or better action on how to advocate for each other, and how that action of advocating can really help both communities as well as other communities that are also minoritized in some way.
Mm-hmm. Social justice, equality, and equity are constant journeys of progress. So what's on the agenda for your campus to improve within the next 2 to 3 years?
2 to 3 years. Let me think for a second. That's a big question. Part of it is is also working for our staff. So students got trans healthcare long before staff got it. So part of that is working to ensure that our staff has the same access to things. Preferred name just came available for staff in the last year. And so there's a lot of computer systems we're still working on to ensure that that shows up in all the right places. For students, our campus has been very active around racial equity, around talking about different issues that happen on our campus because we're a primarily white institution. And how do we create more diversity, and how do we address that diversity to ensure that they're supported, welcomed, that we have good resources for them. And I would say that's our main priority within the next 2 to 3 years, along with ensuring, I mean, because we're 5 out of 5 stars, we've obviously done a lot of work, but there's still a couple questions around athletics as to how inclusive we're being over there, because there is a different score for athletics versus campus pride as a whole. So we're still addressing some of that, and we've been lucky enough to have a new director of diversity in athletics recently hired who wants to work with us. We've had some coaches reach out to us. So that's another area that we're focusing on. And then, of course, we're always focusing on interpersonal interactions. So it's great that we have all these policies in place, but we can't always control that student-to-student interaction. So we're trying to do a lot more education in the res halls, because at CU Boulder, if you're a first year, you're required to live in the res halls. So that's a great way for us to reach a whole bunch of students all at the same time, and to give them at least some very basic education, because not all of them have even that basic level. But then working with the RAs, the resident advisors, on how can we create more purposeful advocacy programs that would address some of that equity, justice, diversity issues that are important both on campus and across the nation.
Really nice answer. So what is the queerest or most LGBTQ plus thing on your campus?
Oh, we have so many. It snows here a lot, and last year we instituted a queer snow person contest. We like to do surprise events like this, where it's sort of a one-time thing. Maybe it'll become an annual thing because it snows here quite frequently. What else do we do that is super queer? I mean, our picnic is super queer friendly. We do participate in our local Boulder Pride, which is actually held in September rather than June when most prides are held, which is great for our school because we can participate down there. Last year, of course, we didn't have it in person, so we had a pride motorcade where we all got in our cars, decorated them, and drove down the street honking like crazy. So it was a lot of fun. What else do we do, Alex? We've done a queer art show. That was a lot of fun, where we had queer students share their art. We do a traditional lavender graduation where we celebrate all of our LGBTQ students who are graduating, and we give out our queer and trans focused scholarships. What else, Alex? What am I forgetting?
Yeah, well, one of our plans for the fall is around the Boulder Pride Week to kind of cover the entire campus in pride flags and messages of support, like every building on campus, the major fields. So I'm hoping that this time next year we can say the entire campus is the queerest thing about campus.
Yeah. The other major event that we have is called the Transforming Gender Conference, and we get about 1,000 people to that conference, 50% of which come from the community not associated with CU, and then 50% are associated with CU in some way. And we have over 60 different workshops that focus on transgender identities and issues. We have a social gathering night for people just to connect with other trans folks. We usually have a tract that is just just for trans providers, for trans folks to give feedback to providers on how, are their services really inclusive and welcoming. And that's been a great effort to help with trans equality, not just at CU Boulder, but within the local region as well.
Really cool. There's so much. So how would you describe your campus for a prospective LGBTQ+ student in 3 words?
3 words. I would describe it, and I'll give Alex a chance at this too, as supportive, community, and fantastic fun.
I will say, steal your word, community, and learning and growing.
Really nice. It's been a pleasure talking to you both today. Please share for those watching on your website to learn more about LGBTQ+ life on your campus. Again, thank you so much. Campus Pride appreciates your hard work and your continued efforts to create an inclusive space for LGBTQ+ students at the University of Colorado Boulder. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching the Campus Pride Spotlight series. If you wish to learn more about this campus or any other college or university, you can search for free at the Campus Pride Index online at campusprideindex.org. That's campusprideindex.org for over 400 plus college and university campuses that have come out as LGBTQ+ friendly. Again, my name is Ayla, and thank you so much for watching.